ladies and gentlemen, is batshit crazy. Batshit crazy. I mean, this is just turned up in the news that apparently the Financial Times newspaper, they discovered a secret plan drawn up by European bureaucrats in which they describe how they want to destabilize the Hungarian economy and actually shrink the Hungarian economy because Orbán doesn't want to toe the line and bend the knee to Brussels. This document, which was a secret document, an actual secret plan drawn up by the EU itself, which describes how they want to cripple the Hungarian economy, how they want to tank Hungary's national coin, the Forint, how they want to scare away investors into Hungary, how they want to close off Hungary from the internal market so it can't trade anymore. It's actually a plan drawn up by the EU, by the central Politburo of the EU, basically, to cripple the economy of an EU member. And why? Because that EU member, which is Hungary, still an EU member, it goes a different direction. It has a different direction in Europe. It has its own politicians and it has its own course in Europe. And it is actually acting as an independent country. And well, clearly we cannot have independent countries in Europe. Now this describes what the hell is wrong with the EU right now. It describes it perfectly. Because the EU keeps saying that it's all different countries, but at the same time they're all trying to merge into one big European superstate. And Hungary is not playing ball, they're doing their own thing, which they have a total right to do. Don't forget, Hungary is, at least legally speaking, still a different country with different people and a different constitution and a different army and different language and a country on its own, right? But clearly that is not good enough for the EU because everybody needs to toe the line. So that is why the EU actually came up with a secret plan to destabilize the economy of a EU member state in order to blackmail them into towing the line and bending the knee. This is crazy. This is not how this is supposed to work. I mean, the EU is such a disappointment because what happened to freedom and democracy and the right to self-determination? It clearly isn't there. And of course, we can see this in how the EU is always operated, but it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the last decade, basically, it's so bloody obvious that the EU is actually working towards the ultimate aim of shutting down Europe's independent countries, Europe's nations. The idea is to shut down Europe's nations and Europe's national identities and to make it all one big European Soviet Union. A European Soviet Union, that's what we're going at, where everything is controlled by the government, everything is controlled by the central government. Not even your own government. Not even your own government in the country. You might hate your own government. I mean, I hate my own government from the country that I am. I hate my own government. I think they're complete idiots and morons and traitors. But it's still my own government. The EU has no right to just walk over the national rights of independent countries. They do not have the right. They do not have the right. And they certainly do not have the right to make little plans in the little back rooms of Brussels to destabilize the economy of another country, to blackmail the elected government of that country into bending the knee to the unelected junta of the European Commission, because that's the difference. Don't forget, you may love or hate Orbán, and frankly, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the man. But you may hate him, you may love him, whatever. But the truth is, though, that Orbán was actually elected in an election. Von der Leyen Michelle, all those European clowns were never elected by anyone. They were never elected by anyone because there is no democracy in the EU. Because the EU is not about democracy. They've shown this. They're about control, total communist-style control. And now it actually turns out that they have a plan, a secret plan, man. A secret plan. Where they want to destabilize a country. Destabilize a country because it is not doing what it's taught. Now, this is crazy. This is insane. And this is why the EU needs to be stopped. I'm sorry. The EU is such a disappointment, but this is why the EU needs to be stopped, because they're always doing this whole ever greater union bullcrap, where we all want to be Europeans together and living in the same European superstate, while at the same time people are actually becoming less European all the time, because the actual European feeling, that we used to have in the 1990s and stuff, where Europeans came together to party and work and do whatever together, the European feeling is actually being eroded by the EU itself, because it keeps ramming that Europeanness, that European Union bullcrap through the throats of people, which is why they're beginning to hate the whole concept of Europe more and more and more. Look at me. I was all for Europe. European cooperation, European Union, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic idea. European peace, cooperation, I thought it was a fantastic idea. Now, however, no. Scroll forward a couple of years, That was then. This was now no, because I've seen the truth of the EU, and the truth of the EU is ugly. It is ugly. It's a new kind of Soviet Union, and we need to stop this shit. We need to stop the EU, and we need to reform European cooperation into something that actually works. Now, what does actually work? What do you think about a European economic community? European economic community, where we work together for prosperity and peace and choice and democracy, where we don't force people into towing the line and bending the knee, and we don't do all this whole stupid political shit where we're trying to build a European superstate, a European federation, because that clearly doesn't work. We've seen this. The euro has been around for 25 years, this year's actually the euro's 25th birthday, and we've seen that how the euro has failed. It has tanked. According to official statistics, the euro has tanked by 30%. A 30% decrease in value over the past 30 years since it was introduced. But those are only official statistics. In reality, of course, we know that the valuation of the euro is actually much, 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 much worse. It is practically worth shit right now. Everything is expensive. Can't buy anything. People are in debt up to their necks. The euro itself is worth shit, to be honest. Actual buying power, purchasing power in Europe is terrible. So what the hell are we still doing this? What happened to the European Union supposed to provide prosperity and wealth to the people and peace? It's failed at every turn. So we need to redo European cooperation in a European economic community, sans the politics, without the political games, without the European unification, whether you like it or not, or whether you want it or not. No. Let Europeans work together. Let Europeans trade together. And let Europeans do their politics in their own country the way they want to. No politics in the EU, no politics in European community, just cooperation, trade. That is the only way we can get out of this mess. But to do that, we actually need to tear down this EU of no democracy whatsoever, of secret plans made in Brussels, of undermining member states for this great European empire that they're supposed to be building. This is what we need to do. We need to end the EU and go back to real democracy and peace and prosperity in Europe.